Yo, what's up? Um, I am kind of making some edits to my Lexi deck. I'm gonna play a couple of games with this, but when more people get in, I'm gonna talk about the Lexi deck that I chose to play at the Pittsburgh Brawl, as well as some of the decisions that I made while trying to come up with a list. And give you guys some ideas for how you can like design your lists better, or like more intention when you have to take them to your local tournament, as well as avoiding some uh common like mistakes that people make when they just submit decks that they find on the internet. How are you doing? If I want to do like an ice configuration like this. I guess I just have to be okay with one less blue. Hey, thanks for stopping by though. Have a good sleep. I have 61 cards now. What was I playing extra? Alright, I cut this other drill shot. Right? So I got some feedback that I don't talk a lot when I'm playing the games. So basically, for Lexi versus Lexi, I just wanted to submit a deck list that's like a little bit more disruptive. and just try to leverage the ice cards to kind of strip value away from my opponent rather than trying to maximize the amount of value that I have. Going second into Lexi, it's kind of tough. Like you don't really want to activate Voltaire because there's a lot of punishes that they can do. Ooh. It's actually fine for me. So, it's like very awkward now for me to play this Command and Conquer because I have this card in my arsenal. Unless I draw a buff. I think it's gonna be a little bit better for me to try to play this Arctic. So, because he's playing the Arctic, I think I'm probably gonna want to try to play my own Arctic. I can Ice Quake and give him 1 Frostbite, or I can give up the Bolton shot. I think it's better to just Arctic him back. And then we give up the Bolton shot, but I mean, like, the potential that like 1 Frostbite on hit is going to be better than the Arctic, I think, is kind of low. So he should not have activated Lexi. Kind of a waste, but they pitched Codex of Frailty. You could have like another Codex. Question is, does the Honor token matter? I think in this situation, he chose to give this go again, so probably the Honor token doesn't matter. Probably a Codex. Okay, so like a bullseye. The one play that we could have made is it could have bullseyed the Bolton shot to try to get a Winter's Bite Arsenal, but I think I'm just gonna play the Winter's Bite and Arsenal the Falcon Wing. We know that we already burned through 2 of his Codexes and a Rain Razors. So hopefully this can be the turn where we get tempo back. We just no blocks this Heat Seeker. This should not be in the deck. That was a great hit for him, but we can put a lot of pressure on him this turn. And so I've drawn 3 blues out of 15. I drew like 2 all red hands basically. I think that I probably am gonna use the tunic for another point of damage maybe. I'm not sure. I'm just thinking, if I hit the Bolton shot and I get the reload, do I reload the Heat Seeker or do I, you know, save the tunic? So like, if he remorseless, if his turn is to play remorseless, I kind of don't want to take a big turn. I'm probably gonna be blocking. So, I mean, he ends up blocking the Bolton shot, but I think the point still stands. I think I would probably want to convert the tunic into a point of damage. I mean, it's not too, like, if he thinks the game isn't gonna go 3 more turns, it's fine. So I could, let's see, what could I do? I could Searing Shot. Command and Conquer, Arsenal the Codex of Frailty. I could block 5. So like basically blocking 5 here is like blocking 7 or blocking 7. And the question is whether or not I get an extra 2 from playing these 2 cards. I think I do. This is like an extra like +1. And then I get to keep the code. So like the alternative line is to just like block 5, activate Voltaire, and then just Codex for the CNC. I think that I get 2 value out of the Searing Shot and playing the CNC. It's pretty close because I am low. And the Codex isn't as awkward because I have a Bolton shot in the arsenal, so any like pump that I draw makes it so that I can. Oh yeah, go down dirty. Okay. There's like a 3 of a kind. Yeah, I can't really beat this. Oh, this we actually can beat. I think he should have pitched the Rain Razor, Star to War. Oh, never mind, it just has it all. Okay, so this is lethal. I can go to 1 if I block Tunic. My turn is pretty strong. Or it could not go to 1. I could block the Remorseless. So it's... I think I'm... how much damage is this? So I can throw Endless Arrow. This is 6, 7, 6, it's 19. Plus the Codex for like another like 6, 25. Plus, yeah, I think we just go to 1. Yeah, this block is just wrong. I think you have to let this hit. And there's that to the Endless Arrow. I mean, the Endless Arrow hitting is not a big deal here, but... Oh, actually, I should have done the Endless Arrow first, maybe? I'm not sure. Just now, you can just block. Oh, he's not dead. His arsenal could be like a 0 for 4. It'd be pretty good. You want to pay 3? No. Oh, unlucky. So I think we have to shoot the frost lock here, just so you can't play anything. Yeah, really close game. I think the main difference is this guy just didn't take full advantage of, his power cards. Okay, now that some people are here, I wanted to talk about tournaments. I wanted to talk about my deck that I played at the Pittsburgh Brawl, as well as some of the issues with it. So this is the list that I had submitted. It's kind of standard. I'll talk about all the non-standard things. I think Command and Conquer is, in everyone's eyes, a card that is pretty good for the Lexi mirror. But the question is, how many do you play? So for the Pro Tour, Runaways was playing 3 copies of Command and Conquer. And one of the most awkward things about playing 3 copies of Command and Conquer is that it interacts kind of poorly with a lot of the other cards in your deck. It doesn't curve with it doesn't curve well with any of the 1-cost arrows unless they were just like in your arsenal. But then if they're in your arsenal, you have to use Snapdragon Scalers to give a go again. The Command and Conquer is mostly just good with your 0-cost arrows, or you just play it by itself. But that being said, it is still really strong. I think nowadays Lexi decks just have to play 3 Falcon Wings. It's a little bit non-negotiable. It's one of the best cards that you can have for flexibility, in terms of having cards to arsenal. And I would say that, oh yeah, I did miss that line. Thanks, little Steve. It's one of the highest flexibility cards that you can have. It's one of the better cards to hit randomly off of a Heat Seeker, or to draw off of your Ponder token, because it's always just a free arsenal, plus there's no cost to kind of getting it out of your arsenal. I think that being able to get cards out of your arsenal without needing to spend Snapdragon Scalers or needing to pump a Bolton Shot, for example, is pretty important for the Lexi deck. In order, you need some of those cards just to have a smooth functioning deck. I was playing Infecting Shots at Pittsburgh, and actually in my current build, I cut all of them. It's pretty interesting. At the beginning of the format, I thought that Infecting Shot was one of the best cards in the Lexi deck, and this is what I have now. But now I think that Infecting Shot's just very awkward to play because it costs 1, and it's not better than Heat Seeker or Remorseless in the matchups that they're good in. Infecting Shot is better into Lexi. Or sorry, is better into Dromai for sure, and is also better into Oldhim. Just decks that don't necessarily play a ton of actions every turn, so the Remorseless isn't that good. But in most use cases, the Oldhim is just gonna be blocking the Remorseless anyways. I found, and so this card doesn't really have text. It has text against Dromai, and so I went from being very high on this card at the beginning when we were preparing for the Pro Tour, I just think this card's like not that good anymore. As people are better at blocking, I think that you realize that infecting shot is just like the least impactful arrow. It doesn't like it. Heat seeker is really strong because it makes your follow-up turn a lot stronger. Infecting shot is just 2 damage. I was playing ice quakes. I found ice quake to be really good against almost everyone. It's not quite as good against Oldham, although if they're playing the buckling blow combo, ice quake is actually pretty useful for turning that off. Like if they wanted to just do it off of 4 cards and block a card, and use like the tunic counter, if you hit them with 1 frostbite, then they can't do the combo anymore. So they either have to have all blues and not block any of your attacks, or they just have to, you know, give up on the combo for that turn. So against like rune blades, the mirror, against Dromai, like ice quake is just like super overperforming, even against like dashes that want to boost into you. I find ice quake really good. And so in this slot before, originally I had Chilling Ice Vein red, and I know that a lot of people are running Chilling Ice Veins, but in my testing I found that the reason why I wanted a card in that slot was because I wanted a card that did damage and was also like disruptive to your opponent. So if you think about it, Ice Quake basically fills that niche where it adds damage onto your turn, but also it incentivizes your opponent to block, which is kind of what you want. And if they don't block, then their turn gets disrupted. So it's kind of like a Blizzard Bolt that does 1 less damage but doesn't cost a Voltaire activation, because it also costs 1 less resource than a Blizzard Bolt fused, but has like the same effect. And so I think Ice Quake is just very strong. Obviously blocks too, but you know, it's a trade-off. Even the blue one I found to be really overperforming throughout the weekend, and just like flipping up an ice card from your arsenal and giving them a frostbite, I think already is quite good. And then the combination, we'll get to it later, but with Codex of Inertia, with all of these like ice disruptive cards, after you start forcing your opponent to block and then you play a Codex of Inertia, it's just like it makes the Codex just like way better. I was playing 3 copies of Pathing Helix. I know a lot of people were cutting it, but I do think it's like one of your better cards, especially on your 3 of a kind turns. And I also know that a lot of people aren't playing 3 copies of Premeditate. Like Cody was only playing 2 copies of Premeditate, but I think that Premeditate is just like one of your better cards when you're playing against decks that you don't really want to block against. Like I think it's really good into Dromai. I think it's really good into Oldham, and there's like some other decks where my heuristic is just generally like if the Codex of Inertia is not really that good, then the Premeditate is going to be kind of filling that spot where it's like a card like Inertia is a little bit better when you're blocking, when you will block a little bit more. Premeditate is much better when you're not blocking. I was playing 2 3 of a kinds, and I actually got into a discussion earlier today with somebody about like why it is that I shaved one. So in hindsight, I think that it's probably wrong to not have the 3rd copy in your list, but that's only for Oldham, where you really need to combo 3 of a kind with one of your like group pumps like our War or Rain Razors in order to push through a lot of damage. I think that the 3 of a kind into a lot of the other decks, it just doesn't function as consistently as I would want. A lot of the times, because like if you think about it, like when you're blocking against other decks and your plan is to play 3 of a kind, you're either blocking your arrows, because those are the cards that block 3, or you're going minus on blocks because you're blocking your non-attack actions because you want to keep an arrow. And so like unless you have your tunic up, and then you have to keep another, like you have to keep a blue in your hand to pitch for the 3 of a kind, you're confined to this like very rigid play pattern where the 3 of a kind, you basically blocked your hand, or like most of your hand out. And so you really need to draw 2 arrows off your 3 of a kind in order for it to be good. But the way that the deck is constructed, most of the times when you submit 60, you have about like 30, but I would say like between like 36 to 40 arrows. So even if you do have 40 arrows in your deck, and you do have like the 2/3 split of arrows and non-arrow cards, a portion of those arrows are going to be blue, and in which case your 3 of a kind's not like as powerful as, you know, it should be. But then like also you have to factor in variance, where even if your expected outcome off of 3 draws is going to be 2 arrows, you need to draw 2 arrows with a blue, or you need to draw like 2 arrows and like they have to be like zeros. It's just like you like the variance exists so that like you're like some amount of the time you draw 3 arrows, some amount of the time you draw 1. If you draw like all reds, your turn, unless you like had a blue to pitch for it, is not that good. You need tunic off of it. If you draw 3 reds, it's like really gross. It just like is a much higher variance card than I would have liked, especially for like a lot of the matchups that I feel like you're already winning. I don't want to like put myself into a situation where I get like a random amount of value from this card. On the flip side, let's look at a card like Codex of Inertia. And Codex of Inertia is like really different because it basically always, at least like in Lexi, like while you're blocking, it always gets, you know, 2 cards, but it doesn't cost a card to pitch. And the reason why it almost always gets 2 cards is because if you start off with an empty arsenal and you play this card and you get an arsenal card, you can just use the Lexi ability, turn it face up. Even if you can't play it, then you just draw a card off the ponder token and you give your opponent an inertia. So this card is actually just like it's a joke in our Runaways Discord, which calls this card Pot of Greed, but it basically is like, it always gets you 2 cards. And so 3 of a kind is kind of similar, where it nets you, like if you pay 1 resource, if you think about this as like a 2-card play, like you have a resource card and this card, like you're netting plus 2 cards and 2 resources. But like the 2 resources is only if you pitch the blue for it, and sometimes you pitch a yellow, so sometimes you net between like 0 to 2 resources off of this card, and it goes like plus 1 in that scenario. And this card always goes +1. And then the inertia token also makes your opponent, you know, like play in a way where they are incentivized to not have like a really good follow-up turn. So for example, we found that when you're behind as the Lexi player in the mirror, a lot of the times you want to be, you know, saving up for a big combo turn. So you maybe like want to hold on to your Rain Razors. And if you play like a Codex of Inertia, then the inertia token just like makes your opponent kind of have to like spend it, and maybe they just like don't get as much out of it as they would like. The real strength of Codex of Inertia is when you combo it with the ice cards, like you combo it with Winter's Bite and Icequake, or you have like an Arctic Incarceration that you flipped up from your arsenal. So basically for that turn, like you're incentivizing your opponent to block. So after they block 3 cards and then you play Codex of Inertia, or they block, you know, like 1 or 2 cards plus you give them some frostbites, then you play Codex of Inertia, then this card becomes like kind of out of control, because then usually the inertia token converts into another card, and then this card just goes from +1 to +2. And a lot, you know, like a lot of people were saying that, you know, Codex of Frailty also goes like a little bit over +1, because +1 card, that is, because, you know, it gets you the attack, it gives you a ponder token, and then the frailty, you know, minuses like whatever. But I actually found that in a lot of instances, the Codex of Inertia is going to be like more powerful than the Codex of Frailty, particularly against decks that don't, you know, throw like multiple attacks per turn. Sometimes they just like they're attacked from their hand, and so the Codex of Frailty is going to not be as much value, like the Frailty token. Codex of Inertia is just like crazy good in those spots. And so I'm like in between thinking that this card is like the best card in the deck to, you know, like the second best card in the deck. I think Frailty is a lot more versatile, but this card is, I think, it's just like one of the best cards in the deck, and kind of like the reason why you want to be playing Lexi. And so like that's pretty much it. And I wanted, and so like that's why I decided to minus one copy of 3 of a kind. And I think like the thing that is important when you're like trying to figure out like how to deck build, like how to, you know, construct the deck in the way that you want. I said at the beginning that we're going to talk about some pitfalls. So I think like one of the common mistakes that people have when they just like, you know, copy a deck list from the internet is that they will look at a card like 3 of a kind and just assume like you got to play 3 copies of it. It's like one of the best cards in your deck, so you know, you just play 3 copies of it. Or you like take a look at, you know, like Infecting Shot, and you're like, oh well, this card's like super strong, it's like your best arrow, so you know, you have to like play this card in your deck. And I would say that, you know, like I fall into this trap as well a lot of times, like when we're testing for the Pro Tour, especially when there's like a time constraint. Like you can only test so many things, right? And you can't you can't just like try like every combination of every card. You have to use some, you know, some heuristics to save you time. But I find that oftentimes like when I get like the best results off of deck building, it's from, you know, challenging like conventional wisdom. So like everyone says like, oh, you got to play 3 copies of 3 of a kind. So nobody has really explored not playing 3 of a kind, and so then there's like an opportunity for you to find out like, oh, like what's like the actual value of, you know, not playing 3 of a kind. Like do you gain anything from doing that? And in this case, what do you gain from shaving a copy of 3 of a kind? Well, so if we just look at like my anti-Lexi configuration. Oops. I think I was running, what was I doing against Lexi? 64 cards. I cut these, and I think I was cutting drill shots. So for example, this is my configuration that I was playing into Lexi's. And like, what do we get from, you know, shaving a copy of 3 of a kind? Well, we get to play all these other like really powerful cards for the matchup. So we get to play 3 copies of Codex of Inertia. We get to play all our Rain Razors. This card actually sometimes I board out one, but we get to play all our copies of Rain Razors. But then we also get to play these ice cards like Icequake, Yellow Winter's Bite, which I found to be like really good. This is kind of a miss when we were preparing for the Pro Tour. This card is really strong as both a resource card and as like, you know, just a great card to stick in your arsenal randomly. And then Arctic Incarceration. So we get to play all the ice cards that we normally would want in the want for the mirror. We got to play our 2 copies of Command and Conquer. And like by shaving 3 of a kind, like it gives it the freedom. So like if you look at the stats, I'm only playing 35 arrows in the setup, but because my setup isn't as reliant on playing 3 of a kind, I think that I end up having more playable hands than if I like 3 of a kind. Oftentimes if you get into like a situation where like you block and then like you make a block so that like if your 3 of a kind is not good, you just like lose the game. And I just don't get into those situations. Like if I just have a Codex of Inertia in my hand, then I can block 3 cards and then just play the Codex of Inertia. I just don't find myself getting into the situation where I just like straight up lose the game if I play 3 and then it just ends up being bad. which I think is a lot of the times when you're playing Lexi, especially like in the mirrors, and you're deciding whether or not you want to block hit triggers, you are operating with a lot of unknowns whenever you have 3 in your hand. And you know, that's pretty much it. How you can, I think, apply this to your deck building, I think you want to think about like combinations of, yeah, this was the other point that I wanted to make. So when you're thinking about cards to include in your deck, you have to think about like combinations of cards that it's good to draw these cards with. So it's not enough that 3 is good, but you have to consider the fact that 3 is best when you draw it in combination with like a blue and like one of these power cards, like a Rain Razors, or you know, like an Art of War or Premeditate or something, like something that doesn't use an arsenal spot but adds, you know, damage to your turn. So ideally you have like these 3 cards in your hand, and then you play the 3, and then you, if you have like at least 1 arrow in your hand or arsenal, then you know that's better. But you basically, like, that's like your ideal like 3 of a kind hand. So then like flip side, like what is an ideal Codex of Inertia hand? Well, Codex of Inertia actually just like plays well as like a 1 card hand. It doesn't play that well on 2 cards, except, you know, you can play it with like a Winter's Bite or something. On 3 cards, it's actually okay because it's like a higher likelihood that you can, you know, play the card off of your Codex of Inertia. So let's say if your hand is like blue, an arrow, either like 0 or 1 cost, so you have like between 1 to 2 resources floating, and then you play a Codex of Inertia. Sometimes you can even like have like a yellow, like you don't need a blue. And then you just get to, like, you can play this card like whenever. So this card's always good. When is Rain Razors good? Like Rain Razors is good when you have it in conjunction, you know, with like Bolton Shots or Endless Arrow or like any of your other arrows. So you have like at least like a 2 or 3 arrow setup. Like you have 1 in your arsenal. It's really good with 3 of a kind in your hand. So you want to be thinking about these combinations of cards, like when it's good to draw your cards, because not all your cards like play well with each other. Like if you draw in your hand is like Remorseless, Heat Seeker, a blue, and you know, another blue, your hand just like your ceiling, and you just never play your hand out unless you use like Bullseye Bracers or something. And so I think that for deck building, like one of the most important things for deck building, aside from just like having like power in your deck, is like you need to have like the consistency of your hands getting maximum efficiency every time you play them. So you want to construct your deck in a way that you like avoid playing too many copies of cards that just do not interact well with each other. So for example, let's count right now. So like in my list, I basically have like Frostlock, kind of, but it also functions as a resource card. So in this configuration, I have Remorseless, I have Heat Seeker, and I have 2 Command and Conquer. So I have 8 copies of attacks that cost more than 0. And this is like really about the maximum of what I would want to play in like in a configuration of 60 cards, because I never want to draw more than like 2 of these together. Like if you draw 2 of these together, like you can arsenal 1, or sometimes you have like the tunic counter. But if you draw like 3 of them together, it's just like it's actually just terrible for you. And you know, like a quick math kind of thing is like if you play around like 12 to 15 copies in a 60 card deck, you get about like 1 every turn. But because of how variance works, even though you're expected to get, you know, like about 1 every turn, like there's gonna be a lot of the time, I think in like a normal distribution, it would be like about like a third of the time or something that you get 2 of them in your hand. When you have 2 of them in your hand, it's just like really bad. And then so that's why like shaving down a Command and Conquer, you know, it's just like something to think about. Like when you're working on your own deck list, like do you find that Um, do you find that you're getting into situations where you're drawing cards together that just like do not really play well together? And if that's the case, then like even if the card is really strong, like Infecting Shot, like I'm just like cutting this out of my deck because I never bring it in because it's just gonna mess with like the ratios too much, you know. And that's like basically it. Now like I think against Dromai I was boarding out of Rain Razors. Just because like Rain Razors into Dromai, like that's not really what you want to be drawing a lot of the time. Like you don't want to really just ever want to be like just like slamming face. But you know that's again like something to like think about. Like you look at a card like Rain Razors and Lexi and you're like, well, that's just like one of the most powerful cards in her deck. Like it can be worth like 6 to 8 damage. Like with relatively minimal setup, but in actuality it's like, you know, if you're playing against Droma, you know that like you have to be clearing the dragons, and so like this card sometimes is a detriment. It's like you don't want to play it. It also doesn't block. It only pitches for 2, so it's just like some things to think about when you're, you know, both when you're constructing your deck before the tournament, but then also when you're deciding how you want to submit your cards during the tournament as well. And so, you know, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about for this stream. I think I'll probably upload this as a video on the main channel. So I hope that this was useful for everyone. And remember, if you want to get free coaching, then just, you know, fill out the Google form. I'll include a link, and you know, that's that. And I think we're gonna go back to playing some games. I wanted to talk a little bit about what I think is gonna be the metagame going forward into, you know, calling Singapore. I have some friends who are gonna be going, and I think that do I want to go first or second? What the heck? That's weird. I have some friends who are going to calling Singapore, and like, you know, what's the difference? So I think there was like quite a, if we just talk about the meta as a whole, went through this like quite a big change going from like pre Pro Tour to during the Pro Tour to afterwards. That's funny. I think I'm gonna play these down and dirties just because they block from the arsenal. Like one remorseless. And drills are all pretty good. I think I'll cut F. I'm just gonna cut pathing healing. So before the Pro Tour, I think the general consensus was that Oldhim was the best deck. And pumps. I think the general consensus is that Oldhim was the best deck. I think maybe I could have not blocked the Codex of Frailty and blocked the Drill Shot instead. In general, you want to, like, it's harder to block 2 5s than a 4 and a 6 against decks that have a lot of 3 blocks in their hand. So the general consensus was that Oldhim was the best deck. So I think a lot of people thought that decks that are good into Oldhim, like Icelander or Briar, would be pretty strong. And then the other deck that I think a lot of people had on their radar was Azalea. And you know, like, Azalea was pretty good. Azalea was pretty good, but I think she struggled pretty hard into Oldhim. Oh man, this hand doesn't do anything. So usually when people naked Dawnblade, I don't really want to block. Worst is like if he has a run through. Because we pop bolters. We just gotta get this out of our hand. If he lets us reload, then, you know, just shoot it. Maybe get a block here. Our goal is to try to get rid of this counter. So, I was saying that, like, Azalea is really good, but, like, I mean, you know, like, most builds of Azalea, I think, struggled pretty hard into Oldhim, with, like, staunch responses and all the defensive cards. So the question is, like, what do I want to arsenal? I think my best play would be to play the Winter's Bite and throw the Falcon Wing for +1, and then I either arsenal, you know, Down and Dirty or like an Ice Quake. I think it's more likely that I can get the counter off his Dawnblade by playing the Ice Quake. At this point, since he's attacking again, I would rather not do the damage and use the counter for the Falcon Wing. And I'd rather just, like, play the Winter's Bite and then pass with the Ice Quake. Or actually, I can load the Falcon Wing, and then save it for, like, the Ice Quake turn. I think it's probably better. Okay. Winter's Bite. Must be a power card that doesn't want to pitch. I'd rather use courage. So the hope is that Dorinthia can't do that much damage to me. And then next turn I can, you know, kind of tax her. I'm giving up a point of damage by doing this, but yeah, we're not blocking. Phi is, in my opinion, not that good, because Phi's not that good because he, like, I think he just like struggles, he struggles like beating himself, if that makes sense. Like, the deck is just a little bit too inconsistent. I think he's pretty good into Oldhim, but I don't think he's like so hopefully like a 9 block is enough to reset everything. Yeah, but like there's still other decks. Like Phi, I think, is still like not that good into Rune Blades, and then Lexi I also don't think is like great matchup for Phi. I think Arctic Incarceration as a card just like kind of hoses him pretty hard. So like it's kind of tough. Yeah, so basically everyone thought that, you know, the best decks are gonna be, you know, Oldhim, Azalea, and then I think the Polish guys thought that Katsu was gonna be like the best deck. Lexi got found out a little bit later as being, you know, actually like a really strong deck. Oh. Okay, that's actually pretty bad for me. I think I might lose the game because of that. Fuck. No. Maybe I should just block. Well, if I block my whole hand, I'm at 7. I can't like no blocks the turn. I don't know. Probably. That's probably it. Oh, this is actually the card that I need to hit. So now I actually maybe can win. That's pretty lucky. Not gonna lie. Yeah, so like and I think like during the testing for the Pro Tour. Okay. I got another one. I think during the testing for the Pro Tour, we found that I think we and like basically everyone else found that, like, you know, Lexi is like really strong. And then so like then it like it shifts to being like, okay, like who beats Lexi? And I think the consensus when we were testing, as well as like a lot of other people. Oh my god, he just passed. So I can get another card out of him. And then I'm gonna play the Arctic. Yeah, so I think everyone on our team thought that Oldham just like loses to Lexi, and we didn't have a lot of confidence, you know, playing Rampart into Lexi. I think part of the reason was because, you know, we weren't blocking as well. As in addition, like we weren't playing sigils. I think Sigil of Solace, if you look at the Canadian guys who are playing at the Pittsburgh Brawl, like their list was really good because of, you know, playing cards like Sigil of Solace. Into Lexi specifically. Dude, not gonna lie, it's kind of nuts. Yeah, I don't think I should have won this game. That was way too much damage. What was I saying? Oh yeah, like we were all convinced that like Lexi just beats Oldham, and I think that like most people who are playing like I think other than, you know, like the Dragon Shield guys, I think they thought that they had like a really good Lexi strategy figured out. I think most Oldhams had like, from what I was talking to, had like a tough time playing into Lexi's. I think I just want. Oh, actually, what did I do against? I think I was playing like some ice. I think these down and dirties are actually not bad. And I play the 3 of a kind. Extra blue. Remorseless is kind of bad. PNC I think is also not that good. Maybe play something like this. what was I saying? Yeah, like we all we all thought that like the matchup for like Oldhim into Lexi was like kind of difficult, or like we couldn't really figure it out. Yeah. But I think like now more Oldhims are figuring out like how to play into Lexi, and you know, it just makes it a lot harder. Blood rod pot. That's awkward. Take a load the heat seeker with go again. Codex of frailty. Frailty's actually pretty good. He's gonna get a CNC back. I think the plan is I let him hit my codex. I load the heat seeker with go again, and I shoot it, and then I play my other codex for an endless arrow. Yeah, so now like so then the Lexi strategy that I brought for the brawl is like primarily like we thought that like the only way for Oldhim to win was to you know, catch the Lexi on like a all red hand and then get a tempo advantage with Stalagmite, which I mean like you can do, but it doesn't win like that consistently. And I think that the Lexi is favored when you do that strat. And you know, honestly, like when we were testing, like we ended up cutting like sigils out of the Oldhim deck. We thought that it wasn't good enough for the mirrors. But honestly, like I wish that we had spent a little bit more time, you know, testing like more defensive builds for Oldhim. I think we could have like found, you know, better stuff. And now I think like going into Singapore, oh, I should have shaved the rain razors actually. It's a little bit awkward. Can use snaps here, so I think I would save snaps. okay. I'm just gonna get both my arsenals destroyed, maybe. Okay, that's not too bad. It's no silvers. I think I should take a pre-med, yeah. What was I saying? Oh, now I think everybody agrees that like the best strategy, like we saw it at the European calling, and also at the Pittsburgh brawl, is just like one of the best strategies that you can have into Lexi on Oldham is to just, you know, like stick the rampart in front of her first attack. And so Lexi decks are gonna have to evolve a little bit. I think they're gonna have to be focused a little bit more on putting -1 counters on the rampart, you know, with stuff like lightning press, more drill shots, stuff like that. And I think the other side of it is that a lot of the like Oldhams are cutting stalagmite, you know, so some of the decks that are really good into rampart Oldham, like Phi, maybe gets like a little bit more representation. Although I find it like, I think it's just like really hard for those decks to like, I should have let him, what's it called, bottom first before, you know, I can see as a frailty trap. So if that had hit, then I would put Falcon Wing in my arsenal, shoot it, and then bullseye the drill shot. But now I think I'm gonna bullseye the Heat Seeker, and set the Falcon Wing. Because if this hits, it's better to have Falcon Wing in my arsenal than a drill shot. Yeah, I think shaving rain into Ozuri is not too bad. That's like pretty rare that you can just set up like a 5-6 card hand. That's where Rain Razors is best. I expect Dromai to still be, you know, like somewhat popular but not very good. Okay, I think he's out of... The question is, what is better? I'm definitely not throwing both of these arrows. I think it's better to keep... I think Searing Shot at least gets like a card, so I'll probably like flip up Falcon Wing and then say Ice Quake. plus 5. Yeah. Oh my god, I'm like losing my train of thought. It's like so hard to like talk while playing. Yeah, I think that maybe Phi is gonna end up being pretty good. I remember that was good times. I'm trying to remember what I was saying. Yeah, I was playing I was like trying out a Azalea New Horizons build with Brody. I think that Azalea is actually like maybe fills that niche of being, you know, good into Lexi. I think with like Dreadbore, it's also like decent into Oldham. Oh, what is this hand? Like crazy ice. I think I get some value. Wrong block. Gross. Is that all his Command and Conquers? 1, 2. Oh no, he got one back from. Okay. What is the best here? So I think I'm gonna activate the quiver. Interesting. So I think I'm gonna play another Winter's Bite, and then I'm gonna +1 the drill shot. I think in general you just like want to not that kind of sucks. I'm just kind of hoping that the 1 Frostbite is going to be enough, because like the Frostbite makes it so that he has to like pitch a card to so if it's not like a Codex, he has to pitch a card. He can't like Azuri flip or that's like the only thing that he can do. I think he's definitely pitched 1 Codex. So he has 1 Codex, 1 CNC. He threw away a Leave No Witnesses. Kind of interesting. And a Spike. I mean, Spike I think is just not that relevant. I think we wanted to block the flick knives. Oh, he just passes. Okay. Yeah, we're snapping this turn. I think just play this. That's pretty good. Discard down and dirty. I don't know how I'm liking down dirties in this matchup. I was trying them out. So far, they have been not that good. I've just been blocking with them. Which is better? I think the Winter's Bite is better in the arsenal. I don't think Winter's Bite is worth 2 cards. Oh, yes. Right. So hopefully we get something good. I'll try again. Right. think the worst is we fatigue. Is a possibility. Oh, that's pretty good. There's like an argument for keeping a premeditate in my hand as like a resource card. It's like a little bit awkward now. I think I like at most can like play one more arrow. Unless I just like draw the actual perfect like 3 arrow, like a blue and 2 arrows. I was not paying attention to my pitch stack. I don't remember what I pitched at the beginning. I pitched like a frost lock and something else. You're the actual nuts. What was I gonna draw now? Oh, so I'd have this in my arsenal. I don't know, it's like kind of rough after that point to like do damage. I think if he was playing a lot more defensively, I think he could have fatigued me. Cards that I had left in my deck are not very good. But yeah, I think maybe the Azalea deck is gonna end up doing pretty well. I think that Oldhim is just super consistent and will probably be again like 3 or 4 out of the top 8 at Singapore. So it's probably gonna be Oldhim, like 2 to 3 Lexis. So that's like 5 to 6 spots. And then there's probably a room, I think, for like I would say between like 5. It's probably like between like 5. Who else? 5. Maybe Rhinar, because Rhinar's Oldhim matchup is really strong, and Lexi is like winnable. It's like 5 Oldhim, or 5 Rhinar, Briar, and Azalea. I think Azalea is probably like the best out of those. So I don't know. That's like those are my picks for I think what it's gonna end up doing like pretty well. And you know, I'm gonna upload the part where we talk about deck building, and then the battle hardened deck, or not battle hardened, the Pittsburgh Brawl deck, onto YouTube. And I think I'm gonna call this stream like a little bit early today, but I hope that everybody found this to be informative or interesting. And remember, again, like if you want free Flesh and Blood coaching, just submit your links to videos. I mean, they could be on Teleshare, they could be, you can like record it with your phone, I don't care, on the Google form listed below. And yeah, see you guys on the next stream.